Hey everybody, it's Jeff Gellman of Solid Canine Training, and I'm talking with Harvey Brown, and Harvey's got the dog that's coming in for separation anxiety. So Harvey, talk to me about your dog as far as like just overall basic the obedience, but then the dog's state of mind and the problems you're having in the home.
Sure. So we got Snacks around just over a year ago. He generally, when it comes to most behaviors, is very well behaved.
Excellent.
There's a little bit of like jumping if someone comes through the door, but he's like, if you tell him to sit, he's very good at that. He'll sit and wait for food. Our main concern and what's causing us issues is absolutely his separation anxiety.
Okay.
He is unable to be left alone in the house at all.
At all.
Um,
Wow.
at all. If my wife and I both go outside, if he can hear us move away from the house, he will begin to kind of exhibit the behaviors that we're struggling with. He begins with, like barking, moving up to howling. And if that doesn't see someone return, he will begin to scrape, begin to scratch, chew, bite at. We have a very big and comfortable crate that we attempted to crate train him in, and he will, bite at the the metal of it or scrape at it, to the point where he will severely injure himself. Last year, we tried to go to family's house for Thanksgiving. We had to come back early because Snacks had uh, scraped at the bars so much that he had snapped one of his nails off, and was bleeding profusely. When we got him, his teeth were very, very damaged due to previous instances of this kind of behavior. It's he's not badly behaved.
Mm,
He's a very sweet boy, and we love him very much. We just need help in
yeah.
preventing him from injuring himself severely. One of the first things we had to do with him when we first got him was one of his toes. The end of it had to be
Mm,
surgically looked at because he had damaged that to the point where it had grown back inside itself and would have caused further issues.
mm,
So that's kind of where our concerns are, is the fact that he will hurt himself to such a degree if he is not with someone at all times.
right.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're in the same room, but as long as you know someone else is in the house,
Right.
then he's fine. But it's, we can't leave him alone. One of us has to be home all the time, or we have to hire a dog sitter,
Right.
um, just to make sure that he doesn't hurt himself.
So how does that work? I mean, so can you both can't work out of the house, work leaving the house, obviously. Someone always
Yeah,
has to be there. Or you'd have to, I guess, drop them off at a daycare or, like you said, a pet sitter. But date night, that isn't going to happen.
that's not happening. I mean, I say luckily, but I haven't been able to work being a British immigrant. I've only
Mhm.
recently got my authorization to work legally in the States. I will be starting work hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So we haven't had to experience that part of the challenge. But exactly, date night, if we just want to go over to a friend's house for an evening, it's just something that can't happen.
Yeah,
Um, it's a real kind of impingement on our lives, to be certain.
absolutely, absolutely. And then is he still in the crate, or you don't keep him in the crate so he won't be injured, or is the crate still the safest place for him?
I mean, if there were an emergency where we both had to leave for whatever reason, we would put him in the crate, because there was one instance we tried, when we were during one of our training sessions that we were doing with him. The person that we got him from gave us kind of a regimen to follow, which we did to the best of our ability, just didn't really have any effect. And one of those stages was us leaving the house with him outside of the crate just to
Right.
see how he was there. The blinds we have on our window, he immediately began really, like scraping out, trying to get out,
Yeah.
chewing on them. He cut his mouth quite severely on those.
Mm,
So it doesn't matter which area he's in, if he's out and able to move around, or if he's in the crate. It's just that he can't be left alone,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
he will either try to leave and hurt himself that way,
Yeah.
or he will be chewing on the bars of his crate
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
damaging himself in that manner.
Yeah, dogs can break through windows and jump out windows and jump off second floor. I mean, we've heard it all. So, what things are you trying that are unfortunately not working? Like, what have you been told to do to make it better, other than don't leave the house?
Sure. So the regimen we've been doing is, we started it off where we put him in the crate, stand in the room with him for 5 minutes, let him out, repeat, do a couple of cycles of that each day, and then move it up to 10 minutes with him in the room, up to about half an hour we got to. And then from there, it was go back down to 5 minutes, but be in the next room. And if he exhibits any kind of pawing at the bars or anything like that, go in, stand very firmly in front of it, but don't interact with him. Just kind of show him we are there, but this is what we're doing.
Right.
uh, we got up to about sort of 15-20 minutes or so we can be in another room, and he did okay with that. That's kind of about where his limit is.
Wow. So it's
um,
pretty bad. Yeah.
it's an extreme case, I would say, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We've
But
seen
yeah,
it.
like
Yeah, we've seen it before. And as you know, I mean, a dog can go into a crate and spend 8 hours in there without any problem, as you know. But that's not why we're talking. So yeah, it's the biggest. My biggest thing is always like, of course, it's terrible for the dog, but the owners. I mean, you have I mean, it's very very pressing on the relationship. Having it really is. I mean, it's just one. Relationships are we struggle enough in them. So having this is just now one more thing that doesn't make it good. And how long has this been going on for?
since we had him, so just over a year. We've had him for just about a
Okay.
year.
And judging
Uh,
by his teeth, most likely it's probably a practice behavior. It's probably a practice
yes,
behavior.
as
Yeah.
far as we're aware, he is around 6-ish, but again, we're not sure because teeth is the best signifier of age for an adopted dog,
Yeah.
and the damage to them is fairly extensive.
Yeah.
Um, so our best guess is that he's been mistreated in the past, and this has just become uh, a symptom of that, which has been allowed to continue until around about we got
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Well, the one good thing, one thing to do to tell you is even a dog that has just had the best life ever still can do this. And then on the flip side, there are a lot of dogs that have the worst life, or a bad life that don't do this. So
Mm.
sometimes it's just like we did everything possible, but we still, why are we still struggling with this one thing? And we've done, we got him at 8 weeks old, and we've done everything right. And I mean, the dog could have been good in the crate up until a year, and then all of a sudden, boom, it
Mm.
just all turned. So a lot of times you just don't know. You just don't know, and we sort of go into training like, well, we don't know, so we know how to stop it, but we don't know really why. It's like, other than dog wants to get out of the crate, and dogs will do anything. I mean, we've seen dogs rip out their teeth, and they don't care. They'll bend the bars till the teeth come out, and
Mm.
as you said, the nails have come out. So all right. And then he sleeps in the crate. Because you're home, he can be in the crate that way, or no?
He he could be. He doesn't. He sleeps at the foot of our bed. He has his
Okay.
own, fluffy dog bed that he sleeps
Okay.
on. For a while when we first got him, he did occasionally come up into the bed, but that's
Mhm.
that's not like uh, an attachment thing. He just sleeps on his own bed. It's just if we would try to leave the house, we can't leave him out, and the only other place for him to go is the crate.
Yeah.
So
So
and
he's
and like
dangerous in and out of the crate. If somebody's gone, it's not going to be good. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's we can't leave the house together. We can't, if we want to hang out with our friends at the same time, they have to come here, or one of us
Right.
would have to go alone, which is, to anyone that's experiencing any kind of similar issue, they have my full sympathy. And
Oh, it's we've had so many clients, and it's like it's just it's terrible. It really, really, it's not good for the dog. It's not good for the humans. It's not good for if you've got children. It affects every part of your life. It really does.
and
And then work. We've had people having to leave a job just so they can stay home, or work an extra job to pay for daycare or a pet sitter. So yeah, yeah, it becomes impractical. Even just like, I think most couples going grocery shopping together, or running errands together, or everything we take for granted, like that's off the table. That's off the table.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I do not believe it. It's not his
Well,
fault. He's
you can't,
um,
but we just
but
fix it. That's all.
it
Yeah.
is it's one of these things that's just it. I think impinges on us incredibly. Our
Of course.
options are massively limited. When I was finally able to go for work interviews, we had to get our brother-in-law to come in and sit with him for a few hours so that we could go to these things. And
Right.
it makes even just leaving the house to do anything someone else could do, without a second thought,
Right.
becomes a multi-day process where we have
Right.
to make sure that someone is arranged so that he's not
Right.
left alone.
Right. Yeah. And then the process that you were taught, unfortunately, I've never seen that work. I'm sure maybe there is a dog out there that it has worked on, but it's still just the tediousness of it is just how do you get up to 4 hours? How do you get up to,
Mm,
how do you, that takes a long time. I mean, the goal is you put your dog in the kennel and you leave. Like that's the goal. That's the goal.
mm.
And then that's what our goal is going to be. So, all right,
I mean,
sounds great.
that would be the ideal for us.
Yeah,
We just the kennel has got plenty of room for him. It's got
yeah.
a comfy pad and comfy bed in there,
They don't care.
and
They can.
it
They
would
don't, you
it
could
would
put $1,000 dog bed in there. And he's be like, oh, I guess I shouldn't freak out anymore. I got the best dog bed. It even has my name embroidered on it. It's like you'd think. I know you'd think. And sometimes actually though, I'll say, Harvey, sometimes the crates are too big. Sometimes they actually have to be a little bit smaller. Not that they're like uncomfortable, but sometimes that if it's too big and they have too much space, it actually gives them too much room to get up and to to move around too much. So as long as there's enough room for them to go into, lie down very, very comfortably,
mm,
almost like they would lie down on a dog bed, pretty much. That's big enough. And but a lot of these dogs, they curl up though. They curl
mm,
up. So all right. Well, definitely this is definitely separation anxiety. So
mm.
we got the right dog. Good, good,
Yeah.
get the right dog. All right. Awesome. Well, it's been really, really great talking to you and excited to start the work because
Mm.
as challenging as it is, we know the big reward is the not only the dog's better state of mind, but the families. So
Certainly, it would be going through this would be not only wonderful for him because he wouldn't be hurting himself anymore,
right.
but it would also allow us to get our lives back,
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah,
effectively.
definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so much for doing this and for coming on and talking about it because um, there's so many people like you in your family and this dog.
Mm,
It's huge. Separation anxiety is huge. There's lots of advice out there. A lot of folks are not being successful with it. A lot of people are being um, let down. A lot of people are letting go. They're surrendering their dogs. I get it. Their lives are being destroyed. Dogs are being put down, and we've got a really good success rate on this situation as extreme as this. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Wonderful.
well, well, thank you very much for speaking with me,
All
and
right.
we will
Thanks.
be dropping off snacks with you soon enough.
All right. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Hello. Hi. Hi. You made it. Where'd you come from again? What? North Carolina. Okay. That's a drive. My goodness. So he's already starting his chewing and stuff. Jeff.
If I could just use the back.
Yeah, right down the hall.
Really straight right to the left of the mirror.
Jeff, he's already got his leash. You want to stop that? He's bigger than I thought. Thought he was gonna be like a tiny.
All right. I guess it's it.
Yeah, please sit.
Okay.
We're not dressed to impress, we dress for comfort.
Oh, that's okay.
I don't trust to impress either.
I like that shirt. I need that.
Thank you.
All right. So, how bad does it ever get?
I mean,
Because
he's
the video we saw wasn't that bad. Does it get worse than that?
We'll have to ask Harvey, because I've only witnessed it once.
Okay.
And
All right.
Wait, sorry.
You sit right here. Harvey.
Sure.
So we saw the video. So how much worse does it get?
A lot worse.
Okay, got it.
You'll see he has one of his claws missing and one of his toes.
Okay.
That was when we first got him. He had damaged that to the point where it had to be removed.
Right.
And it was my first Thanksgiving in the States.
Right.
We attempted to leave him in a crate.
Right.
Within about 30 minutes, he had split a different one of his claws.
Right.
He had shredded his mouth.
Yep.
wow.
We tried leaving him not in a crate as well,
Yeah.
and he immediately went straight
destroyed, yeah.
to the blinds on our door, chewed those,
Yep.
cut his mouth, damaged his teeth.
Yep.
I mean, he's already looking for his escape route. Yeah.
He will severely, like, the reason that I cut the video off where I did is because if I had left it any longer, he would have hurt himself.
Right.
There would have been a lot of.
On the really strong crates, you have to watch out; they can chip their teeth. Yeah. So have you ever like try to correct? So you told me about the training program you did, which was the 5 minutes, disappeared,
Slowly
which
building up the
which
time.
I've never seen work, by the way. Just to let you know. So if it didn't work for you, don't feel like you failed because it's a pretty impractical thing. Have you ever actually like stopped it like this, like all this nonsense right here, even though it's not much, like you can actually just stop it. So you never actually are letting it
Escalate.
escalate at all.
No.
So you can do things like that. You can do things with a remote collar. You can do the goal is kennel up, lie down, kennel up, lie down, kennel up, lie down, kennel up, lie down.
Still don't know
We
how
do
to
tons of drills on that. And then, just because you're in the kennel and you're being quiet, what's your state of mind? So are you still like being anxious? Like that could also be stopped. Any of the trainers you went to, did they ever talk to you about like while you're working through this process to muzzle the dog? Not those muzzles that keep the mouth closed, but just a regular basket muzzle. They can breathe, drink, eat. Like they can wear them for days. Technically, so mostly we do a lot of highly aggressive dogs before because they're not safe for 2, 3, 4 days. Like we can't get them out of the kennel without them going after us. But they can wear them for long periods of time. The only downfall is you just have to wrap up where the muzzle hits the bridge of the nose. Because if you do wear it for a while, especially on a dog this color, sometimes you just get a little bit of abrasion, which you can easily put quick derm on it, which stops it. But no one ever talked to you about that.
No one ever mentioned using a muzzle.
Yeah.
Again, like if we had tried it, I think sure it would have protected his mouth and his teeth.
Right.
But he would have just gone twice as hard on his paws.
So that's then anybody ever talked about wrapping their paws in athletic tape. So what you do is also we'll probably have to cut the
Yeah,
nails,
is
too.
he gonna destroy blankets and stuff too? I assume. Probably
He
shouldn't.
will.
Hey, no.
Yes.
And so we'll take those out. So at the beginning, they don't get blankets.
Yeah.
So what you do is that, so at the beginning you have to do something. You have to do something to like, while you're working the dog through it, keep them from being injured. So muzzle, now they can't break their teeth. They also historically can't break out of a crate either. I mean, they can still muzzle punch hard enough, but then with their paws, if they have the muzzle on, they can take their dew claws, they can get it off, which could rip their dew claws off, but also now they can use their nails. So if you take vet tape, especially on the dew claw, you just wrap it like this, and it keeps the dew claw covered. Now they literally can't get the muzzle off. So now you've got, okay, great, we stopped, you can't use your teeth, can't use your paws, now you can still be freaking out, but that's a lot easier. You've taken away hopefully as much of the potential self-harm as possible, and then obviously destruction of the crate is possible, because once these crates are easy to get out of, he'll be going into most likely a crate similar to yours. But by the end of it though, he'll be able to be in a simple crate.
Yeah.
That's the goal, but that doesn't mean you've got to downsize your crate. You can always use that crate, just in case. Really at nighttime, middle of the night, we're gonna be like, we've got a Nest camera set up, and we're gonna be documenting what we do.
Yeah.
So because so many people struggle with this, and at the beginning though, they get no blanket. The water bowl might be taken out because they'll knock it over. Obviously,
Or bite it.
They're gonna get water,
Yeah.
but you got to sort of take away everything until you stop the outward appearance of the anxiety, and then you work on, great, now you're not destroying, now let's get you to settle. And then you work on that, and then you repeat, and we go as far as, that's great why we got the Nest camera up, because we'll be able to hear it. Like I'll have the volume on in my room at night. I don't even have to look at it. It's like, sounds like a dog's up. And then if you look at it, the dog's standing up. The great thing about a remote collar is, I don't even have to come in this room. And he'll learn that. We're not gonna just sit there pushing buttons. Like they'll learn when you're up, even with no one in the room,
No.
we can tell you to lie down. And even simple things like this, like that's the easiest thing to do. It's just like dogs biting at the bar, walk up to it, to the top. If you have to take a food bowl, do that. Anything to get them to stop.
Yeah.
Because without that, no matter what you train to do, it won't stop. It just won't. I can train this dog to do a rock solid downstay in the crate, but if I never teach it that, like, by the way, trying to get out of the crate is bad, it's not going to learn. So it's got to do two things. So, well, unfortunately, a lot of people are not told about like safety protocols such as muzzling and taping, and then they're not told to you actually can tell your dog to knock it off. So a lot of it is just you just don't know what to do, or some people are uncomfortable, like, ooh, he's already doesn't like the crate, and now you want me to correct him, and he looks a little bit more nervous. I'm like, I know at the beginning he looks nervous, but like, let's think. I mean, it's been a year, so let's think like, can we go on a couple weeks? It's like just a couple weeks from now he'll be fine. Like the last year has not been good. So that's that. And then obviously there's like all the obedience training, all the state of mind work, all the stopping of the unwanted behaviors. But you can still have a perfectly trained dog, separation anxiety. You have an untrained dog with no separation anxiety. So it's sort of like its own. If you don't address this head on, and we find that it's like some things we do slow and steady, but separation anxiety, you gotta stop it. That's why we love, because you've never used a remote collar before, correct?
We have not.
Yeah, and that's like, there's so many things you can do. Full obedience, stop unwanted behaviors, work with your dogs. So if your dog is like,
Communicate with them when
just
you're not home.
just the lowest tap, they can just go, and they'll learn this obviously, it's not magic, but they'll just be like, oh, I should relax. Yeah. So now you're like practicing wanted behaviors.
Yeah.
So you have to stop the unwanted stuff, then you have to massively do the wanted. But if you only focus on the wanted, and you never teach your dog, don't do this, it's a struggle.
Yeah,
So it's a major struggle. It's a major struggle, which is why we do what we do.
And it's not, I always tell people when you have a dog with separation anxiety, it's not good for them if you have to hospitalize them.
It's not.
No.
No.
What do you do with a dog like
Right.
that?
Well, especially if they've got IVs in, and if they've got, I mean, they can, yeah.
And then they don't learn. They're just like, gonna do it again tomorrow if I get
Yeah.
the chance.
That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to
You just want to travel with your dog and like, kennel them up. And,
All in all, they're very disciplined at home.
Yeah.
And we were all over there for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the dogs are very disciplined.
That's nice.
And they're very disciplined with
Right.
the dogs. This is the only thing they really struggle
Yeah. So now once you have new information,
There's also a lot of terrible information out there about it too, or you're just getting the wrong advice and then it's almost reinforcing it more.
right.
But you don't
So
know.
that's why we always ask, like, have you ever been told to shut your dog up, to stop the behavior? A lot of people are not getting that information
No.
because they think that that's going to be like 100% or the majority of the training. I'm like, that's like 5% of the training. The other 95% of the training is like, let's
Great stuff.
start doing stuff. But most dogs are here for the 5%.